Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Unstoppable Dad Project. Hope you have all had a fantastic week. Thank you once again for joining us. If you're new here, welcome. Before I get into it, as always, I just need to ask you a few questions. Please make sure you are subscribed on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. So we are on Apple, Spotify, Google, all the podcast platforms. So please make sure you are subscribed, because by subscribing, all the algorithms push us out to more people, so it helps us grow the podcast. So that's number one. Also, jump on all the socials and like and follow us. So Facebook, The Unstoppable Dad Project, Instagram and TikTok at The Unstoppable Dad. And then we also have a video version of this podcast on YouTube. So please jump on, share this around with anyone you think might get some value out of it, because by you sharing it, you will help us grow this and you will help us continue to hopefully get this information out to some people who can use it. Now, this week I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight into my mind, as scary as that might be, but not about anything really. It is deep and meaningful because it's the reason why I train. And I'm going to give you the two reasons that I have written down and I have refined over the years as to why I've trained. I've condensed them down each into a couple of sentences. And it's a process that I've gone through and I've worked through, and it's really been... Our daughter's birthday's in a little under a month, so she'll be 7. So it's over the last 7 years, really, that these two reasons have been refined, because my reasons for training changed dramatically after I had kids, because my whole life changed. As everybody who's had kids, your whole life gets kind of flipped upside down the moment you find out that you're going to be a father, and then the moment that they actually show up. Like, it's almost like two different phases in life, because there's this realization when they get there. It's like, holy shit, I've got to look up, like, I'm responsible for this little person. So it's been a process over the last 7 years. So the reason I train has changed. And the reason why I wanted to share this with you is because I think it's something that a lot of people struggle to nail down. Now, my reasons why are not going to be the same as yours. There's going to be certain things within the 2 points that I'm going to share with you that probably resonate heavily with you. And you're more than welcome to use them for yourself. But if you are going to use them for yourself, make sure that it actually means something to you, and it doesn't have to. What I'm saying and what I'm sharing with you are my reasons and my reasons alone, and it's been a process for me to refine them. And it's going to be a process for you to refine them. Take what's useful, discard what's not. It's a Bruce Lee quote that I've probably butchered, but it's something that it's kind of a bandwagon that I think I've been on for the last couple of months, and a message that I've been sharing on social media, that there's all this information out there and it's easy to try and take it on wholeheartedly. But as adults, as functioning, thinking human beings, I think we need to look at things through a lens and through our perspective. Take on board what is useful for us and then discard what's not. Now, that does mean you're going to have to try some stuff. You're going to have to put in some legwork to work out what is going to work from you. But just because the whole thing doesn't work doesn't mean that you have to throw the whole thing out. You can take what's useful and you can discard what's not. Anyway, I digress. So the reason I want to share this is because I think it's something that people struggle to kind of clearly define. They clearly define the reason why. It doesn't matter whether it's training or anything else, but why it's important. And when you get lost in this limbo as to you're not quite sure why doing this action is important to you, a couple of things start to happen. You feel disconnected with the task that you are doing or the actions that you need to take, which means that you constantly may feel like you're not motivated to do it, which is a fairly common feeling for everybody. And even when you have a deep connection why, there's going to be phases where you're going to feel like that anyway. But it also creates a struggle around how it fits into your list of priorities and how much time you can allocate to the particular task, which then creates some friction around you doing the task, which then potentially means that it's something that you're not going to be able to stick to. And building consistency over a long period of time is a message that I preach quite heavily to anyone that I coach. And if you've listened to this for long enough, you know, if you feel friction around doing a particular task and it feels very, very hard to do it all the time, there's going to be periods where it's going to be hard to fit in, like when you first start. But if there's no enjoyment around it because you don't understand why, how it fits into your life, how it fits into your priorities, and you feel like you're constantly lacking motivation, a lot of that can relate back to not really understanding why it's important to you. So that's why I felt like I wanted to share my reasons why, because I haven't done that on the podcast yet. But just to recap, the reason why I'm doing this, understanding your why will help, I believe, will help you stay on track. It will help with quote unquote motivation, because it'll help you feel more connected to the task that you need to do. The other reason why is it's going to help you understand how it fits into your priorities. So that starts to give you an idea of how much time you can allocate to it. Okay, maybe what you should prioritize time to that particular task over the top of other things. It helps you understand how it's going to fit into your life. And when you have a busy life with kids, businesses, jobs, so on and so forth, stack the responsibilities on top of each other, it's really important to understand where things fit in to your personal list of priorities. And I'm not here to tell you that you have to prioritize this or you have to prioritize that. You're an adult. You can work that stuff out. However, if you don't understand the why around why you want to do something and the deeper reason why, it's sometimes hard to see how it's going to fit into other things. So here we go. My first reason why I train. And as I said, this is something that I have refined over the last 7 years. It always wasn't this clear and concise. So number one reason why I train. So I can be physically capable and be able to call upon my physical capabilities when needed, either for enjoyment or in an emergency. So let's unpack that just a little bit. So what I mean by that is I train so I can be physically capable in all aspects of my life. So big thing that I hear a lot of, especially when it comes to parents, like I want to be able to play with my kids without running out of breath, without having to think about whether I can go and do something with them or not. Like I want to be in a physical state so that I can be quote unquote super dad to my kids. Like I can run around, which is such a common thing. And understandably so, because we want to enjoy the time that we have, especially when they're little. Like my kids are 3 and 7, right? Almost 7. And so they're running around. They're whirlwinds. They want to go and do stuff. They want to play at park. They want to climb. They want to jump. And I'm physically in a position where they can go and do that. And I can go and do that with them. I don't have to tell them to get down off something because I can't climb up there and get them. I can go and run around with them. I can go and throw the ball with them. We can kick the soccer ball. We can do all that stuff. And I don't have to think about, am I in a physical position to do this? Because that's one of the reasons why I train. It's for my enjoyment and their enjoyment. So when I say enjoyment, that's for the enjoyment of being able to interact with others, but it's also for your own enjoyment. It's to be able to do other things that you enjoy. Jiu-jitsu is something that I enjoy doing. It's a sport that I enjoy doing. And some parents or even people who get into their 30s and 40s, a very common story that I hear all the time is that they want to be able to go back and play some level of sport. So whether that is, they want to be able to go and play touch footy or touch rugby league or whatever the case might be, they are always looking to get back to that, and they've stopped doing it because they don't feel like they're physically capable enough to do it. So the enjoyment is not only the enjoyment of interacting with your kids or interacting with other people, but it's the enjoyment of being able to do something that you enjoy. And then the emergency piece there is being able to call upon your physical capability should shit go down. Now, it could be as extreme as someone's trying to break into the house, someone's trying to cause you physical harm, all those types of things. Like that's something that for a lot of us, while it may be a small percentage of happening, it is a reality that it could happen. It could also be an emergency, like kid falls over, breaks their leg, and you need to be able to move something, lift something off them, even pick them up and move them to the car, or whatever the case might be. In an emergency, I don't want to have to think about, oh shit, I haven't done the work outside of here in order to be physically. And look, even if you haven't done it, I'm sure you will make it work. But it's one less thing you have to worry about if you have built that base to make yourself physically capable enough to be able to do it. Now, notice that none of this has to do with aesthetics. I don't care how I look. All I care about is, am I going to be able to physically perform when the time arises? That's the number one reason that I do it. It's so I can be physically capable and be able to call upon that physical capabilities when needed for either enjoyment or emergency. That's the biggest reason why I train. Has nothing to do with aesthetics, has nothing to do with the way I look. It has everything to do with how I can move my body and what I can do with it. That's the number one reason. Number two is I enjoy it. I enjoy the struggle, I enjoy the strain, I enjoy putting myself under pressure, and I enjoy seeing the progress and seeing the results that I get from that. I enjoy the journey of training. I enjoy seeing what I can get out of it. It's quite simple. That's just what it is. Like, I enjoy doing it. I think from an enjoyment standpoint, for a lot of people, when you're first starting, I think that seeing results is important. And I think that a lot of people tie their results to how they physically look, which I'm not here to tell you that's a bad result, but sometimes the results that you're looking for within, the external is maybe unachievable within your life. And back to the priorities piece, maybe the time that you have to put into it is not time that you really have without sacrificing a higher priority on your list. But when I say I enjoy it, and you'll notice that a lot of these don't have to do with aesthetics. For me, it's about performance. For me, it's about my physical output, my physical capability. Like, what is that output? How high can I get that output? And what's the highest level I can sustain that output for the long period of time? And I'm not even talking about 12 months. I'm talking about the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Like, I want to be able to sustain a very high physical output for well into my later years, into my late 40s, into my late 50s, even into my 60s and 70s if I keep kicking for that long. Like, I want to be able to maintain that for as long as possible. So when I'm talking about progress, I'm talking about that long-term progress. For some people, when they first start, you want to see those quick wins, those short wins. So it's about understanding what the big picture is. So the big overall arching reason why. So for me, the first reason I shared with you, that's my overarching reason why. And the second one is a little bit more superficial. It's just because I enjoy it. And when you're finding something and you're doing something, yes, I think that if you're dealing with injuries and limitations and other things, that starting with a good gym program, physical fitness routine is a good place to start, because if you get a good coach and somebody who can guide you well, you can address those injuries and limitations so that, feeding that first reason, you can become more physically capable. You don't have to think about those injuries and limitations while you're doing particular things. And it's a more controlled environment. Whereas if you go and do a sport, it's an open loop activity, which means there's a lot of other controllables and there's things that can go wrong without necessarily you knowing they're going to go wrong, which is when we're talking about actual coaching for a gym program, we can control that. So starting there for a lot of people, if you've been on the shelf for a while or it's something that you've never really done, is a good starting point. But anyway, coming back, the important thing is finding something you enjoy to do. Because if you enjoy it, you will stick to it. You will be able to build that consistency over the long term, and then you will see results. And if you see those results, it's going to feed the motivation. And it's also almost like this circle, this self-fulfilling prophecy when that happens. If you find something you enjoy, you're going to stick to it. You're going to see results, and then you're going to keep doing it. And that's the biggest thing. And that's why, for me, like the two physical things I enjoy doing right now, I enjoy training and I enjoy doing jiu-jitsu. But the enjoyment is in my first reason, because I need to be physically capable so I can do things I enjoy. I enjoy training. I enjoy doing jiu-jitsu. I enjoy playing with the kids. I enjoy not having to think about when I'm running around with them whether I'm actually able to do this or not without causing myself an injury or an issue, or running out of breath, or even feeling like I'm looking silly while I'm doing this. That's another conversation, but these are things that go through a lot of people's heads. So if you're trying to get back into something, find something you enjoy to do. But the big thing around this podcast and the big message I want to get across, it's important to understand why you want to implement training if you're not already doing it, or why it's important to you. Maybe you're starting to drop off. The pressure of fatherhood, the pressure of family life starting to get to you a little bit, and training starting to take a little bit of a backseat. But why is it important to do that for you? I've just shared with you the two reasons why it's important for me. Just to recap, number one, it's so I can be physically capable and be able to call upon my physical capabilities when needed for either my enjoyment or in an emergency. And the second reason is because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy moving. I enjoy the struggle and the strain that I put myself under, and I enjoy seeing the progress that comes with that. They're my two reasons why. Yours may be similar. They may be completely different. But by understanding those reasons for yourself, you can almost, quote unquote, cure the motivation bug that everyone's looking for motivation, because you can go back to that, and those whys can spark that motivation to get it done and help you be a little bit more connected with the task that you're doing. But secondly, it helps you understand how it fits into your priorities. And this is a big thing that I've talked about on my last couple of episodes within this podcast. You don't have to do everything at once. So stop looking on the short term and looking for those short-term results, especially when it comes to your physical health and well-being and appearance. Look on the longer term, because you're going to have other priorities that are going to need to take precedence over potentially time in the gym or time to allocate to that physical fitness. But if you understand your reason why, it means that priorities that are lower on the list can easily take a back seat, and you're not going to feel angst, anxiety, and guilt around allocating that time for yourself. Now, if this is something that you've struggled with, if you've struggled with understanding the reason why, in the show notes, there is a link below where you can book in a time to have a chat with me. Now, it is a free 30-minute chat, and there is no obligation. What I do on the chat with a lot of people is we actually go into a little bit more of a deeper reason and try and understand your reason why. And for me, let's understand selfishly why I'm doing this, because if there is a good reason there and I think that I can help you out with that, obviously we'll have a talk about what I can potentially do within one of our paid programs. But the other thing is too, some people just need to be pointed in the right direction. And for me, in my 15 years of experience working with people who are trying to either get back on track or reclaim some level of strength and athleticism, if you can just understand, even on a surface level, a reason why, you may not need me, but I've done what I intend to do with this podcast and with my coaching, which is to help people and help you get back on track. So if you would like some help with it, you can book in a time there to have a chat. It's 30 minutes, it's free, it's no obligation. And really what it's about is trying to help you get a deeper understanding of the reason why, your underlying reason why you want to make this change, or why you want to continue to train and get yourself in a position where you're hopefully going to be physically capable to live a life that you're going to be satisfied with, that you can enjoy, and you will have that physical capability when you need it. So, thanks for listening. Hopefully you got something out of the podcast today. If you did, make sure you share it around with your friends. And again, if you want to chat, there is a link below to chat. So stay safe. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye.